Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the 3D. My name is Michael J. Russ. Wherever you are listening to this podcast from in the world, I hope that it's a glorious day. I hope you're making it a glorious day for you and that you're happy and in more control of the life that's unfolding around you. Today's episode is number 101, and I have been taking copious notes over the last 3-4 months of various tidbits of things, and today's episode is called Things That Matter, actually turning lead into gold, things that matter. And that's because I want to kind of recenter you in a couple of ways. The first thing that we need to begin with is the thing that matters most, the obvious, the elephant in the room, so to speak. And that's you. You matter. You matter. You're a human being. You were put on this planet for some reason. And it's up to you to figure out what that reason is. It's an amazing journey, though, and I hope you see it that way. I hope that you approach it from a positive perspective. My goal here is to help you see that what you have is a lot more control than you may think you have. And if you feel that your life is out of control in any way, that somehow the circumstances of your life are pinging you around, throwing you around, so to speak, and you've become a little confused, the thing to do is always go within when you have confusion, recognizing that you are sovereign. You're sovereign. You are the one who is the ruler of your mind, body, and spirit, always. And that if you feel that you are being thrown around in the chaos of life, unsure of where you need to go, when I say go within, I mean forget about all that out there and recenter yourself, refocus yourself. Focus yourself. When things occur, when you feel experience some negative feeling, anger or frustration, worry, fear about the future, anxiety about the future, any kind of resentment towards others, whatever the feeling may be, you have to immediately snap out of it and recognize that the 3D world out there is a platform, a classroom, a laboratory, so to speak. Whatever you're experiencing in terms of feelings that's being generated is based on your perception of your outer world. It's your perception of your outer world. So step back, go within, examine your perceptions, and then recalibrate those perceptions, shift those perceptions. You have that control. If you've learned nothing else, I hope that from these podcasts, and I hope you've listened to several of them, there's a few ongoing themes. Control is a huge theme because this is your life play. I've said that many times. This is your life play. We all get find ourselves in a place where maybe perhaps we're confused, maybe sad, maybe angry of something else. That's just a reaction to the way that you've perceived a circumstance outside of you. That circumstance doesn't control you. You control it. You control what you think and feel and speak about it. You control how you respond to it. That's up to you. So instead of continuing to be caught up in that, generating all those negative feelings, feeling bad about yourself, go within. You matter. You matter. It's your life play. Don't beat yourself up. Don't sell yourself short. Don't judge yourself harshly or at all. Believe that you are more, not less. Don't think that you'll ever not get there. Believe that there is a place for you, that you have talents, gifts, skills. You are here. You exist for a reason. And the beautiful part about your life is it's one of discovery. It's a path, a journey of discovery, to discover your talents, discover your gifts, discover where you fit in. Remembering all along, of course, that what you're experiencing out there is completely within your control, in that you perceive it the way you want to perceive it. That is your choice. Regardless of what happens, you exist for a reason. Discover what it is. If you're confused about where you are, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a snapshot in time. It's just a moment in time. That's all it is. Honestly, I can tell you, for the first 27 years of my life, I had no idea how or where I fit in. I tried many things. I discerned certain things about myself. Number one, I could communicate with people. I could relate with people, which was a good thing. I had great friends that I developed up to that point. I had experienced some things, loss of relationships, a breaking up of relationships, death of someone I loved very dearly in my life, my girlfriend at the time. However, I always wondered where I fit in. I ventured into entrepreneurship, sales, that sort of thing. But understand, I'd been a musician, and I'd made money, made a living as a musician from the age of 12. My parents didn't have to give us any salary or money or whatever. My brother and I always made money from playing music in a band. And it was great. It was very creative. It was a wonderful experience. Somehow I discerned that that was not the path I was supposed to make a career out of. You know, it's interesting. It's always been something that has grounded me. It's always been something that has come natural to me. However, I always thought that it was a stepping stone, a building block, so to speak, to my true purpose here, my true life purpose, my mission, so to speak, as an individual, as a soul traveling through this world. And by meeting various people, connecting with various people, arrived at a career path at 27. I got married a couple of years before that, and I spent 35 years now in that career. And it grounded me, the career grounded me. But along the way, I never stopped expanding my thoughts, my consciousness. I never stopped expanding my awareness. I was always asking questions, always knowing that I was meant for something greater than what I was doing. And I also had to change the perception of what I was doing. I wasn't selling things to people. I was helping people get what they wanted, I was helping to allay people's fears and concerns and worries. That's what I was doing. It wasn't that I was selling them a product or service or whatever. I was helping them in their lives, making relationships along the way. I was helping them with their personal issues, being someone outside of their sphere of influence to connect with, talk to. And in choosing that perception, it's been very gratifying to me. If it was just a way to make money, just a way to make a living, to get what I wanted financially, then it wouldn't have been as rewarding to me. And unfortunately, a lot of people happen to choose, and you may just be one of them. If you find yourself in a discontent situation, where you are discontent and you're not really happy with what you're doing, you may be making good money, or you may not be. The point is that everything you do, everyone you meet, every circumstance you encounter, every scenario, no matter how brief the encounter or scenario in your life, everything is part of your life play. Everything. All the people, all the experiences, it all continually unfolds, and it all contributes to your own evolution as a human being, as a human soul, here on this earthly 3D plane. It's an unfolding situation. And what I see around me is a lot of people, again, you may be one of them, you may know some people like this, who are being caught up in the tide, so to speak, caught in the tide of the 3D world, the tide of the chaos, the craziness, the negativity, the toxicity, being caught up in that wave, and for some reason unable to move past it, not feeling that they're in control of getting out of that wave. Maybe you're running with a crowd of people that is not really adding anything to your life. You know, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a text thread with a really good friend of mine. It's really interesting because I discovered something this week. Discovered something that I guess it was my time to discover. And that's really the way I look at it. You come across things when you're supposed to come across them, when they're right for you in your life. Just like this podcast. If someone shared this podcast with you and you love it, you found that it was just what you needed. It was the nourishment that your soul needed at this time in your life. It's likely because this was the time you needed it. Not last year or 10 years ago, but now. That's why I don't worry about how many people listen to this podcast, because as you continue to be consciously aware in your life, you're going to seek certain things. When the time is right for you to take control of your life, the resources to help you do that will magically appear. And it's up to you to remain aware enough to recognize that that's what they're there for. And that's a way of living. That's a way of living that I'm encouraging you to participate in, encouraging you to say, this thing that happened to me, this person I met, what's their role in my life? What's my role in their life? That's the way I see encounters, no matter how brief. I don't need to know someone's name. Hey, I'm so-and-so, I live there, I do this. Those are just facts. That's all they are, just facts. Facts that in the end really don't contribute to your life or theirs. They're just facts. That's just where you are. What counts, though, is how they feel about where they are, about what they're doing. And you, the same. There's a reason. Maybe for that moment that you've met that person in that line, in that place, wherever, crossed paths with them and you said hi. You smiled at each other and you said, hey, how are you doing? And you had an opportunity to impart a bit of kindness towards them. Maybe that's what they needed right then and there. Likely, it is. It's what they needed. I was walking the other day, and it's a path that I take not every day, but several times a week I do it, depending on which way the wind is blowing, whether it's sunny or not outside, whatever. I walk around this shopping center, take about a 4-mile trek every morning. And this particular morning, I was kind of torn. I was going to take a different route. And something told me, no, just make a right and go around the shopping center. So I did. I paid attention to it, and I said, fine, okay, I'll go around the shopping center today. I got around I got to the shopping center itself, around the corner, and I looked through some bushes, trees, that sort of thing. And I saw 2 people attempting to put a easy-go golf cart, so to speak, up on a trailer. And they were having some difficulty. I discerned that they were having some difficulty, and I quickly just made a left, stepped through the brush and trees and bushes and whatever, and I said, hey, can I help? And they said, oh gosh, please, thank you so much. And I went ahead, and not only did I help them get the cart up on, I discerned that they were, figured out, so to speak, that they were putting the cart on backwards, because the cart was longer than the trailer itself, and there was a gate that they had to pull up at the end in order to keep the cart on or keep it from falling off as they were driving. And I said, we're going through a lot of trouble here, but taking a look at this cart should be turned around. So let's just turn it around. With 3 of us, it was easy. The darn thing was in neutral, and we just rolled it off, turned it around, put it back on, and I helped them cinch up the gate. And they were like, Paula was the young lady's name, was a mother and son. And she says, "Oh my gosh, it's so amazing that you showed up. Such a blessing that you did show up when you did." And I said, "Well, timing is everything, right?" I was supposed to be there at that particular moment in time. And they were so grateful. And when they drove off, they honked at me on the way out. And I noticed how I felt. And it's amazing. I felt like I was on top of the world for like the next mile that I walked. I just, you feel so awesome when you give without the expectation of receiving anything in return. Even, thank you, yeah. But not even that. You don't have to receive it. I looked up the definition of altruism, and it's giving without the need to receive anything in return. It's just giving of yourself. Being altruistic is something that we should all adopt, because in this world we got caught up today, caught up that the 3D world somehow demands, people feel that they have to, when they give something, they need to receive something in return, even as so much as a thank you. And I'll give you another example of that. There was a gentleman here that owned the Toyota dealership that played golf at our golf club. Now, this guy, he made a lot of money, and he was a very nice guy. And his motto for the Toyota dealership had been, "Where relationships are born." That's the motto of this particular Toyota dealership. And he was a contradiction. Nice guy, very relatable, and the contradiction came in terms of what his expectations were when he was giving. For instance, we were at the golf club one day. I was standing at the counter, and he was getting he's getting something to eat or drink or whatever at the turn, and he basically gave the girl behind the counter a $100 tip for something that was probably $10. And he just took out a wad of money and gave her a $100 tip. And proceeded to get upset because he didn't get a thank you immediately for the tip, that she didn't fall all over herself thanking him for giving such a large tip. She didn't really recognize, she was so busy that she didn't recognize what he had done. And I was like, wait a minute. This guy he gave the tip, and he got upset because he didn't receive anything in return. It didn't receive a thank you, a nod of acknowledgement, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And I said to myself, if you're going to give the $100 tip because you appreciate what they've done, do you really need to, is giving about receiving something in return? About expecting to receive something in return? And it made me think about him and about altruism, about philanthropy, and how so many people out there, 1%ers or whatever, who have so much money, more money than they're ever going to spend in their lifetimes. And their main goal is ego-driven, which is getting the name on a building, leaving some sort of egoistic legacy, having a bridge or a street named after them, because they're philanthropic, right? They're giving because they expect something in return. And I see so many stories of people whose lives are upended for sometimes $500. It's upended. And I'm saying to myself, I'm asking myself basically, who in the world, where are these people who were watching this news program and just letting it go by? Letting this person, not helping in some way, not being an angel philanthropist, giving without the need, following an altruistic premise. I give all the time. I'm sure you do too. If you're listening to this podcast, it's because you're at a level of your conscious awareness where you're striving for more. You're striving to evolve and transform. And something within this podcast which you've been guided to, is helping you do that, helping you move forward. And I'm happy and most appreciative of your listening, for taking that little nugget and turning it into taking the treasure that that you're finding in this and enriching your life in some way. It's interesting. You matter. Get back on track here. Step outside of the 3D world. Step outside of the 3D world of craziness. There's so much of it. You just have to turn on the television and you'll see it. Rise above it. That's what this is about, rising above it. I talked about Beyond the 3D and why I created this podcast in episode number 100, the last episode. So I'm not going to go back into that again. However, the constant theme is control, secondarily, rising above what's going on around you. You can be happy. You can be incredibly happy. Without money, with tons of debt, no debt, having a house, having no house. Those circumstances should not define how you feel in this moment. I've been there, strapped with $300,000 worth of debt, attempting to figure out how I was going to pay the next payment. I've been there. Did not allow it to define me. I made every successful attempt to resist that. This one thing that ran through my mind all the time. Listen, this debt doesn't define who I am, how I behave towards other people. It doesn't define how I feel about myself. It's just a 3D circumstance in this world. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a circumstance. If you allow that circumstance to define how you feel in that moment, you are not controlling your life. You're not in control of your thoughts, your feelings, words, and actions. You're allowing that circumstance to dictate how you feel. We've got a big bullying situation going on right now in the world. Adults are bullied. Kids are bullied. It's not the bully. It's how you respond to the bully. That's the lesson. That's the lesson here. They don't know you. In many cases, there's a lot of cyberbullying going on. People are out there, I'll just go off on this little pedestal here for a moment. There's a lot of judgment in the world. Social media has created a platform for amplifying judgment, negative judgments of people. There's a lot of good on there. There's a lot of people who keep posting good. However, negative travels faster than positive. Now, one of the things I do not like about social media is that it is a conduit, a high-speed racetrack for negativity. And if you've looked at social media, that is what it is. Do you allow the social media to control you, your thoughts, your feelings about the world and what's going on, or do you control it? I have social media because it's a mechanism for connecting people with my message, with the hope that people will find this message who need it. Other than that, I don't really engage with a lot of people who I don't really see ever in my life. I've got 1,500 this or 500 followers. I don't know these people. I don't know you if you follow my social media. I wish you well. I will do everything I can to make sure that you understand that you are in control of this life that you live. However, I'm never going to really know you intimately. So I'm not going to say anything about you because that would be rude and uncalled for and inappropriate. I don't know you. So it would take a while to get to know you. And it's not just facts. Facts do not define who you are. So when bullies bully somebody for what they wear, I've been there, made fun of, whatever. We have to recognize that it's not the bully you should be looking at. It's not the person making fun of you that you need to be paying attention to. It's how you feel, how what they did or said made you feel. Because the lesson is yours to control your own feelings. That's the lesson. You have to go within. Don't blame them. Let that go. Let that go. Use it as an opportunity to evolve beyond it, to evolve way beyond it, to look within and say, why does what this person say or do make me feel this way? Why does that happen? Is there something within me? Do I feel less than about myself that they are confirming how I feel about myself? That is what we need to be looking at. This is what we need to be teaching our kids, to look within, not allowing social media to define who they are. I know some adults who let social media define who they are. Social media, the internet, whatever. It's a tool for better living if you see it that way. You've got to disregard all the garbage, the toxicity that flows within that platform, that communication, that mode of communication, that media. Step outside the 3D world. Step outside. It's an opportunity. It's simply a classroom for learning. And if you start to see your interactions with it in that way, beautiful things are going to occur within you. You have value, people. You have value. Your outer world changes when your inner world changes, when your inner world perceptions and feelings about yourself change. Your outer world will change. And I'll tell you an example of something in a moment that kind of illustrates that. Be positive and consider the alternative if you're not. Talked to a gentleman the other day. He was in a wheelchair. He's a veteran. Had the most amazing outlook on life. We resonated like two peas in a pod. Tip, awesome guy. Awesome guy. I'm going to make a video with him sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to talk about how he got from where he is. He was about ready to kill himself 3 years ago. Just take his wheelchair and drive himself right into his pool. Guide himself into his pool. He went from that to where he is today. And I said, what was the main thing that went through your mind when you decided not to do that? What's been the constant thought since that point? What turned the tide for you? He says, consider the alternative. That's what he tells me. He says, consider the alternative. It doesn't matter about divorce that he was going through. It didn't matter. None of that mattered. He was not going to allow his circumstances with his wife or his physical situation or anything else in his life to define how he felt. And his life changed in a very dramatic way from that moment on. He's one of the most positive guys I've ever met. And I meet a lot of people who are positive because I project positivity and I attract positivity. But I love it. I love knowing people like this. Be positive. Consider the alternative. It's not good. Be receptive. Be receptive and open to new things. Be aware. Be kind. Be happy. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. That was the other thing he told me. Because, we resonate. I mean, I've said that all along. He says, I was unhappy with myself. I didn't like myself. And I knew that had to change. For me to live in this life, to be happy, I knew that was the first thing I had to change. I had to change my perception of self. In many cases, and this may be yours, that's the first perception that needs to change, is the one you have about yourself. As I said earlier, your outer world changes when your inner world changes. The people you meet will change. Your whole dynamic in life will change. I don't care how good you feel right now, and I feel awesome. It's a beautiful Saturday out there, and I'm about to go out and eat some pizza and have some wine with some friends. I could get a phone call in a couple of moments about someone in my life that is not doing well. I can't do anything about that. That is their journey. I can wish them well, send them some positive light, sit down and send them some heartfelt energy. However, I cannot control what they think and how they feel. I can't control their physicality. I can't do that. So am I going to allow that to impact my day? Absolutely not. I'm going to approach my encounter with them with empathy, compassion, love, unconditional love, and kindness. And that's all I can do. I can't control anything, so I'm not going to allow it to make me feel bad. In a relationship, tip, gentleman I was just talking about, who's a veteran in a wheelchair, he is pushing the envelope of what's possible. He's got a golf cart called a stand-up golf cart. He plays golf without being able to move his lower body. He just got a new a track thing that's called a track chair that allows him to, it's got tracks on it like a tank. It goes into the he can go onto the beach. We live near the beach. He can go onto the beach and he can stand up in this thing because it's also a stand-up chair, and he can fish from the shore. This thing is pretty awesome. I've never heard about it. He is not allowing his physical circumstances to define what he's capable of. And if you think about it, perfectly healthy individuals allow in this world, and you know them. I hope you're not one of them. You might be. However, I know people, I've seen people who allow their circumstances to dictate how they feel and what they're capable of. If this is you, think hard about that. Think hard. I've got examples, many examples of people who've decided to shift and change their entire lives. Just give up what they thought what they wanted. They were making money, they were in a high-stress job, doing well, living where they wanted to live, but they weren't enjoying themselves. They weren't enjoying life. They were participating in the social illusion. The social illusion. That illusion being that you need to go do, and if you're going to have, you've got to, it's about money, it's about status, it's about power, control over people. That's not, obviously not the way to live. Eventually, that will come to wear on you. And luckily, I've known some people, a good friend of mine as well, who decided, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to step on people to get to the top. I'm not going to take advantage of people to get where I need to be in order to make money, in order to buy this next thing that I really want. We live in a consumer-based society. We live in a consumer-based society, consumer-based world. And if you don't buy a lot of stuff, the cogs don't keep turning. This is going to become a bigger and bigger problem because with income inequality, where more of the money, more of the gains are going to a very small, minute 0.1% of the people in this world, which now stands at about 80% of all the wealth is in the hands of 0.1% of the people in the entire world. That money's not being recirculated back through the world. It's not creating jobs. It's not creating companies. It's just floating around out there in the investosphere, okay? In hedge funds and all these kinds of things. And the only way that they survive is if you keep buying things. If you keep spending your capital, the money you make, your hard-earned dollars, on buying stuff that they keep convincing you through ads that you need to buy. I sat down and looked at my closet the other day. I've got enough clothes, shoes, suits, whatever, shorts, flip-flops. I've got enough to last me a lifetime. I don't have to buy another shred of clothing. I've got enough. I got enough golf shirts to play golf for the next 6 months and never change, and never wear the same golf shirt twice. This is the world we live in. The majority of the stuff for the average person, the majority of their money goes into the trappings that they live within, the trappings that surround them in their house. These things have no value after you buy them. They're only valuable to you. You're the one who treasures them. The piece of furniture that you buy in the store, you keep it 3 months, you decide you need to get rid of it, it's not worth anywhere near what you paid because it only had value to you. It boggles my mind why people in this country can't save money. Either it's because they've gone into debt buying whatever it is that they thought they needed that would make them happy, that would make their life more content, that somehow satisfy them, bring them satisfaction, and then wonder why they're not happy. They're strapped. It's why they can't experience life the way that they'd like to experience it. We are brought up from, one of my major pet peeves is schools. How schools are really farm schools for colleges. Not everybody needs to go to college. I agree people need to become more worldly, more cosmopolitan. They need to be able to read and write, but they also need to be able to think independently. I'm assuming that you're an independent thinker. If you're listening to this podcast, you are an independent thinker. You are stretching, expanding your horizons as a soul walking this earth. You're looking to evolve and transform yourself. And that's a continual journey for you. You will discover what your mission is, and you likely have been participating in that mission for some period of time. I don't have any preconceived ideas about this podcast. I just know that somebody out there will hear what I'm saying, take some of what I'm saying, and improve their life. That's the reason I do it. It's not to become famous, be on the Ellen Show, have 1 million followers. That's not the goal or mission. If it was, this podcast would not bring me that much joy, because my numbers don't align with that. My numbers of listeners don't align with that. I'm not growing at that pace. It's not to be famous. Some tidbit of information in this podcast may be the key that's necessary for you to unlock the door and walk through it to be more than what you are today in terms of your own vision of yourself. To live your life, to unlock the door to your grandest vision, so to speak, of self. Never stop discovering people. Never stop discovering. Never stop learning. Take a risk. Take a risk. Be fearless. Fear, that old false evidence appearing to be real. Whenever you feel fear, it's a sign that you need to go within and determine why you feel that way. Of course, any negative emotion, right? If you fear the future, what is it that you fear about the future? Get some knowledge, get some understanding, greater understanding, so that you can eliminate that fear. Take a risk. Be fearless. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. Your feelings matter. Your feelings. Getting back to the things that matter. Your feelings matter. And I'm going to give you an example now that I was told of. I mentioned it kind of earlier. There's something called heart math that that evidently has been around for a couple of decades, and it hasn't crossed my path before because it wasn't time. But it crossed my path now. A friend of mine sent me a video. And I sent that video to another friend of mine who told me that she was involved in heart math and actually somebody who was licensed or certified to be able to help others in the area of heart math. And if you want to know what heart math is, the full scope of it, I'm not going to paraphrase what I saw in the video. I would simply, there's let me see if I can find it here. But there's you can go on YouTube, excuse me. You can go on YouTube and look up heart math, okay? And there's a gentleman by the name of Greg, what's his name? Barons, something like that. I'm looking onto my LinkedIn right about now to my friend who, Greg Braden, Gregg, Braden. And you can watch a video called What Does Heart Intelligence Stand For? This is some amazing stuff. And, I talked about self-talk. I've written 2 books on self-talk. Self-talk has been a huge part of my evolution and transformation, my own inner conversation. And as I've said in these podcasts before, if you do nothing else in life, stop talking badly about yourself. Stop talking about yourself in a negative way. And because there are ramifications, both mental and physical, for that occurring. Well, this heart math happens to be just one of its aspects, is that it really verifies that there is a physical connection between how you think about yourself and the world, your outer world, and your heart. And she says something really cool about this. And I'm not going to paraphrase it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to read it to you because it is pretty darn amazing. It's beautiful, actually. And let's see. She says this video. This is my friend Cheryl, who's gives me golden feedback galore. And we have a really wonderful relationship. We open each other's hearts and minds and souls and to new things. And she is forever, thank you so much, Cheryl, forever a source of inspiration for me. And I love her for that. She says, it's what she calls inner alchemy. And I talk about alchemy all the time because alchemy is inner. I call it personal alchemy, but it's inner alchemy. It's how you change the way you feel. Alchemy is sourced from the heart, our original software. The heart is the first organ to develop in the fetus, something I did not know because I hadn't investigated, versus the brain and mind. The heart's the first thing developed. It's what naturally happens in our body and spirit as a result of good feelings and their feel-good chemicals, as in the alchemical process, and that are naturally released, creating the heart-brain coherence mentioned in the video, and letting that appreciation flood our being. And it's an amazing video. The gentleman, there is a direct what heart math gets into is the connection between the heart and how the heart, there's an electromagnetic field generated by your heart. And in this video that I saw that was sent to me, that was a TED Talk, and he was demonstrating in real time how the heart rhythm associated with fear or anxiety, because this person that he was performing this talk with, he just randomly picked somebody, brought him up on stage, and their fear and anxiety about being on stage was reflected in their heart rhythm that he had connected a device to him, and he was showing it on the screen. Her heart rhythm was jagged, up and down, up and down, up and down. And he asked her to do a couple of things. First, he asked her to breathe more deeply than she had been breathing, or than she regularly breathes. And then also to envision that breath going in and out of her heart breathing, as instead of her mouth, that it was inhaling and exhaling through her heart. And immediately you saw, when she focused on her heart, you saw the jagged up and down of her heart rhythm all of a sudden kind of smoothed out. It wasn't jagged anymore. It was right there on screen. It was an inner alchemy transformation, boom, right there, instantaneously, when she changed her focus. Okay, I'm not going to get into the depth of that because it's not my wheelhouse. However, I'm going to tell you, check out heart math. It may be your time to look at this. It will transform your life. But what it did was, to me, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It validates self-talk. When you think about yourself negatively, in a negative way, and there is a physical thing that happens within you. When you perceive things in a negative way that are happening and unfolding around you, there is an effect on your heart. There's a physical thing that occurs within your heart. Your heart, there's a physical consequence, I should say, a ramification of that. And we're always looking for this. People going, oh yeah, where's the scientific proof that, thinking positive helps? Well, here you go. All right. And there's much more to it than that. And I do encourage you to take a look at it. The weight of, I want to talk lastly about just this one thing, because words matter. Words matter. I've talked about this all the time. Words matter. Self-talk about what you think. When I say thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, the words I'm talking about that you have total control over as the sovereign, as the owner of your power, you have this ability to control your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions. And the words I'm talking about are not only the vocal words out to others, but mainly the words you say about yourself in relationship to your encounters with other people. The relationship. You have this conversation. It goes on. It goes on while you're awake, and there's a conversation while you're asleep. Your ego takes over while you sleep. There's a conversation. You wake up, boom, there you go. When you're beating yourself up about something and being fearful and anxious while you're in the middle of the night, it's, you're running all the negative scenarios about something you need to face the other day through your mind. Yeah, it's your ego. It's that I don't know. I'll just say, devil on one side, angel on the other. You're battling back and forth, and the devil's winning when you're talking negatively about yourself, and in relationship to something that's going on in your life. Words matter. Stop saying negative things about yourself. I just said that just a little bit ago. I'm going to emphasize it one more time. Think twice. When you do it, stop. Just stop. It has no useful purpose, and all it does is reinforce how you feel about yourself. And if that's not a good thing, then you're reinforcing it. You're compounding it. You're compounding the adversity that you're heaping upon yourself. That is it. What you determine, you are the one who has absolute control over this. You're the one who determines how you feel about what happens outside of you, not the other way around. If you feel hurt, feel any other negative feelings, anger, or whatever, look within and ask that question. Why do I feel this way? You matter. Your feelings matter. Your heart matters. Your words matter. And I really hope that you take time after listening to this podcast to kind of reflect on your life and reflect on how you feel about yourself. Reflect on the words that you're using about yourself. Reflect on the feelings that you have about where you are right now in life. Yeah, you can go out and you can cover up those feelings by doing something temporarily. However, life is a 3D classroom, a laboratory. Inner alchemy is about transforming yourself from within. Transforming yourself from within. Your thoughts, your feelings, your words or self-talk, your inner conversations. That's what it's about. Transforming them in real time. That's what personal alchemy is, and that's what it means to live beyond the 3D as well. My name is Michael J. Russ, and I appreciate you listening to this episode. We've gone on now for about 48 minutes, and I hope it's been good enough for you. I usually don't do podcasts this long. However, I kind of felt the need to do kind of an unscripted podcast here about this, to get some of these things out of my own head and into yours, to hopefully something that you can apply to make your life better. That's the whole idea. Thank you so much. Enjoy life. Make it what you want it to be. Make yourself what you want to be. Take care.